could.
Schedule that for 2 in the
I
morning.
could.
Okay.
I do a great deal of group work at night in my dreams, actually. So this is class 10 of how we create our reality. Today is November the 1st, and this is titled A Different Sense of Time. And I'm going to open with a quote from my beloved Albert Einstein. The distinction between the past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. And in 1904, Mirabilis Annus, the year of the miracles, because he wrote 4 foundational, enormously important papers in physics, he began to disassemble the concept of time. Now, to me, it was quite remarkable because all the other great physicists in the world had huge laboratories, university affiliations. Albert, on the other hand, was a third-class patent clerk in the patent office at Bern with no facilities whatsoever. And fortunately, the people that published the journals were brilliant enough to understand the profundity of what he was saying. In some cases, they reprinted his articles 3 times. But the major physicists of the world completely ignored him, because then, just like today, when they would look at articles, they would look at what the references were. Who were they referring to? Where did they get their information from? But in Albert's case, he published 2 of those 4 articles with no references whatsoever, because his work was that original. There was nothing to refer to. Now, fortunately, their assistants, the assistants of these great physicists, all of whom were in Europe at that time, kept bringing it to the attention of the physicists that they worked for, and eventually they all ended up trekking to Switzerland and going into the patent office and asking to speak to their third-class patent clerk. And a couple of years later, he did secure a place in a university, and then 18 years later, in 1922, he received the Nobel Prize for his paper on, I want to say Brownian motion, but that wasn't it. It was another paper. The paper on Brownian motion was quantum and pivotal as well, and that's one of the papers, one of the 2 papers that had no references. So, in 1922, he was visiting Japan. And during the course of his visit, he was staying in a very famous hotel there, the Royal Hotel. And while he was in the room, he received a message from a courier. But he didn't have any money. So he gave the courier, he said, "I don't have any money." And he took out 2 pieces of paper and he wrote 1 sentence on each piece of paper and gave it to the courier and said, "This is in lieu of a tip, maybe someday it'll be worth something." And that, how you doing? And that sold about a week ago as a prized possession of the family for all these years for $1.5 million. 1 sentence. And the sentence was, "A quiet and modest life brings more joy than the pursuit of success, bound with constant unrest." The pursuit of a quiet and modest life. And the reason I bring that up is he lived from a heart place. So a humble person like a courier, he knew that he had some fame, and he wrote some things on a piece of paper and gave it, became the prized possession of the family, and naturally it paid off richly. Oh, well, golly gee, I'm not sure how many years since then, but yes.
Excuse me, sir. How are you?
We're taping right now, TV.
Yes, ma'am.
So, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
I just had a question, sir, please. Is this a church?
Yes. Can you just wait till afterwards and we'll talk?
Stay, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
I just,
And then we'll talk again.
You came to our other place, we were
Yes,
down the
ma'am,
street.
I did.
Right. But we're in the middle of a class right now, so can we just wait till afterwards and we'll talk?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Now, it's just been recently that they've confirmed some of his brilliant observations over 100 years after he made them. So that's quite remarkable. And there are more in the future, and some of them have to do with quantum mechanics. And one of his quotes is that is very familiar and famous is, "God does not play dice with the universe." And from a quantum perspective, they'll prove that's true in the coming years. Although at the time, it seems like a contradiction to quantum mechanics. So with that, I'm going to get into our inner senses. So our inner senses are always operational. The 9 inner senses that we talked about last week. And it's through our inner senses that we create this reality. Through our 9 inner senses, we create this reality. Like breathing in and out. It's completely seamless. Just like our 5 outer senses, seeing, hearing, feeling, touch, smelling, create our physical world as the energy flows through us and flows through our senses and is projected out onto the walls of our bubble. So, what we're doing here is just switching on our focus and awareness of these inner senses, which are already completely operational and completely create our world from an inside place. They're both important, doing important jobs, but now we're entering a time when the use of the inner senses, long neglected, are actually much more valuable than our outer senses. Our inner senses are the way we're actually creating the world moment by moment. We're literally creating the world from the inside through our inner senses, just like we are literally creating the physical world with our physical senses on the outside, on the walls of our bubble. These inner senses also release and develop our clairvoyant and telepathic abilities. But we need to learn what consciousness by studying and exploring our awareness. So we need to learn what consciousness is by studying and exploring our own awareness, by changing the focus of our attention and using our consciousness in as many ways as possible. And dreams is a powerful way to do that. When we look into ourselves, the very act itself, the very act itself of connecting with these senses extends the limitations of our consciousness and expands it, and allows our egotistical self to use abilities that it often does not realize that it possesses. And trust me, our egotistical self will absolutely get with the program and support us in using these inner senses. The ego has a great deal to gain from this expansion and completely revels in our success, and our success is. But the inner senses are not important because they release clairvoyant and telepathic abilities, but because they reveal to us our own independence from physical matter, and they let us recognize our unique, individual multidimensionality, our individual multidimensional identity. We have a multidimensional identity, just like we have a physical world identity. Our camouflage and our world are one and the same, and are created by conscious focusing and unconscious concentration. Think of your heart. Are you telling your heart what to do? You're not. So we're also not telling our inner consciousness how to create this reality. It's just natural. But only by turning our head away for a moment from this physical reality can we see what is seemingly beneath a solid pattern. So what we do is, and what we're going to be doing today, is plunging into an ocean of value climbing. And we dive beneath our camouflage system and look up and see it, relatively foundationless, floating above, moved, formed, and directed by the shifting illusions caused by the wind of will, and then the forces of subconscious concentration and demand. So, the beliefs of each individual and each individual's world are rarely ours. Our beliefs are rarely ours. They mostly belong to our parents, family, friends, church, culture, political system, society, educational system, TV, magazines, the internet, newspapers, advertising, etc., etc. So there's very little space in there for our own beliefs, and the ones that we have are the ones that we get from experience, and they frequently come from something that was frightening. And when they do, and we create a belief to live from that, that becomes, like so many of the other beliefs, limiting. So the question is, what beliefs are true? And this is really shocking. There is only one true belief. That's love. Every other belief is made up, and it's either derivative from love or it's not true. One or the other. So let's make up the other beliefs that we live from in harmony with love, empowering us and supporting love, because it's a decision that we make. These beliefs we believe because of what we see, what we'll call what is. But they're an illusion. The universe will constantly give us what we expect. That's the law of attraction. What we expect is what we believe. So we're going to continue to get what we believe and what we expect until we drive our stake in the ground and say, no, I believe that people are good, I believe the world is good, and then go on to establish the belief that you want to live from. So, how powerful is this one truth? So if something negative is in your life and you want to change it, the process is give love by imagining and feeling that you have what you want. So if something negative is in your life and you want to change it, give it love by imagining and feeling that you have what you want. So you know what you don't want because you're suffering. And because you know what you don't want, conversely, you must know what you do want. Remember, anything negative is a lack of love. So you have to imagine the opposite of the negative situation, because its opposite is love. For example, if you want an illness and you want it to be gone, give love to your body being healthy. Give love to your body being healthy. Or come to Judy's class every night. How perfect is that? Can you give yourself anything more loving than yoga? Remember, A Course in Miracles says virtually the same thing. Everything is either love or a cry for love. So, Since we're at the end of this 10-part series, How We Create Our Reality, I'm going to share another truth. This world and everything in it is an illusion. And here's the kicker. The glue that holds this illusion together is our stories. We don't have beliefs, do we? I mean, nobody goes around thinking, oh, that's my belief, that's my belief. No, I mean, when's the last time that happened? Oh, never. What you do is go around telling your stories. But where do your stories come from? Your beliefs. Each and every time, your stories are based on your beliefs. So if you listen to the stories you're telling, then you'll realize what your beliefs are, if you just think about it a little bit. So the only thing that holds our reality together, besides love, of course, is our stories. Our stories hold this physical reality together, and our stories are based on our beliefs. So how can you make use of this? Start telling the story of your amazing life and the law of attraction. Hi, Merle.
Hey, Mouse.
And the law of attraction must make sure you receive it. So let me say that again. Start telling the story of your amazing life. Don't tell stories about how difficult your life was, how terrible, how this or how that. And I love that Jerry Hicks went back and rewrote his life history, looking at all the good things that happened in his life. And he took a look at the incidents that at the time seemed challenging or uncomfortable and found the good in each of them. So when people would bring up past challenges that he had faced, he would say, yes, and this is what I got from that, and this inspired me to do that. And I never would have done that unless I had experienced what I did, and that inspired me to take this step and go in this direction. And I did that too. I mean, if it worked for him, and I'm telling you, it is a wonderful experience to go back and rewrite your history in a positive way. It feels wonderful. It feels uplifting. It's just a wonderful gift to give yourself and your inner spirit. We know that we don't get true fulfillment through time management, but rather by living in the here and now. That's the power of now, our beloved Eckhart Tolle. We know the present moment is outside of clock time. The present moment is outside of clock time. It is the eternal now. So, I know these insights from the material in Seth and other teachers that teach us to thrive in the world of time when we live from our timeless self. Eckhart Tolle wrote a whole book called The Power of Now. And I love his next book, which I read virtually every day, which is Stillness Speaks. So beautiful. So we've learned how to embrace time as the realm of self-awareness. So time is not time at all, but it's a practice of self-awareness, self-unfolding, and total inner fulfillment through values. Total inner fulfillment through values. And when we take advantage of this, something truly shocking happens. It's breathtaking, literally. Because right now, time is not our ally. But the reality, the truth is, time is our biggest ally. But how do we think of time? Time is coming to get me. What's going to happen to me in time? Well, I'm going to get old, I'm going to become decrepit, I'm probably going to suffer. The stories we have are endless, not to mention all the doctors, all the pharmaceutical companies, all the hospitals, the list, the adult care places, the list is literally endless, that make a living from perpetuating this view of time. But here's the real truth. Never give your age again unless you have to. if you have to write it on a piece of paper or you have to give it to somebody, in a court proceeding, and then always say to yourself, but I am ageless. And the age that I pick is, and then pick your age. I'm 32. I'm whatever it is. And when we get to the end of this class, I'm going to give you some guidelines for how to take advantage of the all that isness that you are in confirming and commanding this universe, this reality, to your direction, the direction that you want it to unfold. So time is our biggest ally. Time is not aging. Not aging, that is a made-up story. Time is about our expansion into the fullness of who we are by living our values. So what happens with time is we get better and better. We expand more and more. So we get better and better. We expand more and more. We become more and more of who we are. Mary Lou's a saint, isn't she? So you can see that because we live in time, time is our ally, because we're always going to be expanding. We're always going to be moving into the fullness of who we are. We literally just get better and better, and especially if we're not dragging ourselves down with the old belief system. So, time is really about fulfillment, value fulfillment. Using our time well comes down to how fulfilled we are in the present moment. Using our time well comes down to how fulfilled we are in the present moment. When we feel content and centered inside, everything we do is more effective, more efficient, and more satisfying. When we manage the time demands of our life from our timeless inner self, based on living our values, then every moment of our life matters. And I'm going to digress here for just a minute. So Abraham has this process called segment intending, where you identify what you want in each segment. And I'm just going to expand on that. Well, actually, I'm not going to do it here because I have it further on in my talk tonight. But when we start to look at our segments, not just by what we intend, by asking that all-powerful question, what do I want? But when we start to take a look at our segments by why, when we start to look at our segments by, am I living my values in this segment? All of a sudden, they transform. So, what I would like us to do is think of something we love to do. Fly fishing, holding a grandbaby, listening to music. So, think about what it is that you love to do. And then, in our mind, feel ourselves doing it and feel the joy of that doing. And feel the joy, then feel the joy in your body of doing what you love to do. Maybe it's something important like shooting pool, or I'm not going to say watching football. Because I've grown beyond that. Except on Sunday. When I have this terrible inner conflict where my energy is totally split. And I watch people hurt themselves, which literally hurts me. But I'm not going to keep doing that, he said for the 15th year in a row. Now, can we relate to the fact that there is no time when we do something we enjoy, we find great pleasure? So when you hold your pet, you come home from a long day, your pet jumps on your lap and you're scratching its under the neck or patting it or just reveling in how much your pet loves to see you and how joyful your pet is that you're home. Or you're holding your grandbaby or whatever it is that brings you joy, you realize that you're not in time. Whether it's 1 minute or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, well, until the baby poops or something like that, but you literally, and even then, for some people, that's just part of the process and they enjoy every part of it. I'm reading a biography from the Bush sisters, and they're talking about their lives, and their mother and father tried long and hard to have babies, but they couldn't. And then later in life, they did have babies, and they had 2 of them. They had twins, the daughters, and they each said, well, we each got one. And they loved every second of it. Didn't matter what it was, because they were so appreciative of having the girls, and they'd waited so long. And when you have children, sometimes when you're young, you're going, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to get somebody to watch the baby while I go out and do line dancing at the bar? And whatever it might be. But when you're older, you're going, I have no interest in line dancing. I want to hold the baby. We've been waiting a long time for this. So you really appreciate the things that you have, and they're very uplifting. So now think about what was happening when we were immersed in our passion. Did the thought of time even come up? Were we thinking about or concerned about time? No, if anything, we wanted to stay there even longer. Now, I'll tell you a really interesting observation that Seth made. When you're feeling that way, you literally stop time. Literally, you stop time when you're doing what you love. You add years to your life by doing yoga. You add years to your life by coming to church on Sunday and doing what you love, what makes your heart sing, what makes you feel good. So the question is, did time evaporate? And this is a really important question. Do we realize we were living in the moment, in the now, in the present, when we're doing what our passion is, when we're holding the baby or the pet? Do we see how the spacious present actually exists in a feeling way? This is not some word, spacious present, because it's called the spacious present because the past, the present, and the future all exist in our now simultaneously, as Eckhart so beautifully delineated in his work. They all exist in this one moment we call the spacious present. And the present becomes so spacious because time evaporates in the face of our passion, our excitement, our joy. So when we get that fire lit inside of us, all of a sudden we become way more than who we were surviving in the physical world before that moment. And we're deeply connecting with our inner spirit and with the part of us that's all that is. So, this is a matter of perspective and not what is. So, the joy in holding the baby, the joy in playing with our pet, is a matter of perspective. We know that we're going to get connected to our inner spirit. We know that we're going to move into that sense of timelessness. We know that we're going to connect with who we are at the deepest level on the inside, and not physical reality. We're leaving physical reality behind, and we're just connecting with that feeling of love and joy inside ourselves. So, We want to get to the place where we can find that kind of joy in anything we choose to do. Not just when we hold the baby, not just when we're playing with our pet. We want to get to the place where we're the creator. And that place is a matter of perspective. The critical word here is choose, because we want to get to a point where we're only doing what we choose. We want to be able to bring a perspective to anything we do such that we are present in the moment, mindful, and can find the joy in the quote-unquote doing of whatever it is we're focused on. And this, of course, is what enlightened masters and gurus are. That's their bread and butter. They know how to be mindful. They know how to be in the moment. They know how to give themselves over to their practice, for instance, of yoga. I'm not trying to pick on you, Judy. But that's why it's such a powerful pathway connecting to a deep spiritual place. So first, we have to ask ourselves some critical questions. Why am I doing this? Is it in harmony with my values? And in the future, before we do things, ask ourselves why. Does it match my values? Of course, for this process to be effective, we need to know our values. And there's no better time for writing down, challenging ourselves, and writing down our values than right now during this energetic transition. Because we're going to be constantly confronted with change. Now, in my hubris, I did this when I was 19 years old. And I thought that, and I took about 3 weeks and wrote down my values and then sent it to my friend in California who loved it and was nice enough to send it back to me so I could. And it was a very, very powerful experience. I tried to challenge myself on everything that I had a question about morally or philosophically. And for 10 years of my life, oh my God, that just powered me right through. Because as I encountered life situations, I knew what I was about. I knew what I believed. I knew what I was going to do. I didn't have to struggle with decisions. I didn't have to struggle with what do I believe here? What do I want to do? I knew what I wanted to do and I knew why. Now, I'll never forget, it was about a year in when I had this shocking revelation. Because I had written it down, I realized that I was changing. And at the end of 10 years, I almost couldn't relate to what I had written when I was 19 years old by the time I got to around 30. I realized that my value system, because I wrote it down, I could see how it evolved in virtually every area. My value system was now far different, far deeper, far more nuanced, far more loving, caring, compassionate. So you can see where I'm going here. There's no such thing as time, but there is value fulfillment. So knowing our values is incredibly powerful and enables us to make quick decisions. So when we know our values and live our values in each segment of our lives, everything changes dramatically. And I think it's time for a short break. So why don't we take 5 minutes and come back at about 3 minutes till. And did you want to pause your recording? Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow. Ready, Pierre?
You're on, Captain.
Thank you.
Great.
So, before we do things, we need to ask ourselves why, and does it match my values? Of course, for this process to be effective, we have to know our values, and there's no better time for writing down our values than right now during this energetic transition, which I'm sorry, because I went over that already.
Okay.
Should I start again?
No, it's fine with me. So when we know our values and live our values in each segment of our lives, things change dramatically. Everything changes dramatically. But first, we have to get right with our values in everything we're doing. If we cannot get right with our values, then we need to start exploring our options and making changes, not wholesale changes. Don't go out and quit your job. And working in our mind to see if we can find better options, including where we are right now. Can you find a way to rethink what you're doing? Can you find a way to see the value in the job that you're in now, such that you can find joy in it? That's the key. That's the place that we want to get to. If you can't find a way to get to joy, if you can't work with your beliefs, change your perspective enough to get into a place of joy, then to be in integrity with yourself, because you're so important and you're so special, you need to find a way to do something else. Like Reba would be, doing astrology, or she would be doing light body activation, or she would be doing training. But at each step, she found something that would make her heart sing, and at each step, she was leaving what she was doing before because she was stepping into something that she enjoyed even more. So, remember, this is a journey. It's not a task where when I do this, I've arrived and I get to check the box off and it will be done, and everything forever after will be okay and different. It just doesn't work that way. That's not the way it is. So let's go ahead here and dig in and see what we can do. So time is literally value fulfillment. Time exists to bring more value fulfillment, and therefore it's our ally. So write down 3 things that make your heart sing, such as family, or spiritual practices, or higher education, that you would find, that we would find fulfilling. Second, ask yourself, where does the time go? That's a question we all need to ask. And list the 3 biggest things in our typical day that feel like we wasted or lost time, such as TV. Have you ever spent a night watching TV and gone, wow, what did I get out of that? How did that help me? How was that? Because it's fine to watch TV, but ask yourself before you turn it on, what do I want to get out of this? What are the values that I want to bring to bear, and what do I expect to enjoy? You don't have to, this is not like a course in high school where you get a grade for, I'm watching educational TV or book TV or something like that. No, but did you enjoy it? Did it make your heart sing? Was it uplifting? And if it was, then it was worthwhile. But if you turn off that TV and said, wow, that was not in sync with my values, that did not make me feel good, that was a waste of time, well then, you have a powerful insight. And it's amazing. The awareness alone, not a decision to do something, but the awareness alone that you just wasted 3 hours of your precious time will change your life. The awareness alone will change your life. And if you keep that process up, you'll keep changing your life little by little, step by step, baby steps, as Reba loves to say. And eventually you'll find yourself in closer and closer alignment to your inner spirit. And then the last thing is, how can we change things in our life to shift more towards what makes our heart sing? Well, I want to go yoga tonight, so can we eat at 5 o'clock so I don't have to rush and get up here and be all frazzled and tired, and then when she gets to Savasana, go to sleep and your snoring wakes everybody else up that's in the group? No. This is special. You want to take it as something special, so you take care of yourself on the way there, and then when you get there, it's going to be a special experience for you. But if you're not taking care of yourself at each step of the way, then when you get there, you're frazzled, or it takes you the whole class to get calmed down. And then you can come out to my class and sleep. Because you're finally decompressed. So, we all understand that in reality, time is not a fixed experience that follows the ticking of the clock. Albert undermined all that for us with his theory of relativity. But we know it in our bones. When we are upset or hurt, time moves slow, sometimes very slow. And when we are happy, time may even cease to exist to the extent that it seems like it was only an instant. So we have a beautiful experience. Maybe we're down by the lake watching a sunset, or down by the ocean, or we're playing with our grandkids in the sand, or we're talking to a dear friend. And the next thing you know, you look up and you're going, wow, 2 hours just went by? I can't believe it. And we know our age is not necessarily a reflection of our age, either in our bodies or our mind. I mean, Reba's 72, and the age in her body is like, there are people in their 40s that don't even come close to doing what Reba does when she does her triathlons or goes out and rides her bike, and all of it is a joy for her. I know, because about every 100 yards, we stop our bike ride and look at a butterfly. It's such a joy, right? Well, maybe not for me, but I'm kidding, because I'm used to it now, and I'm starting, and she's totally irrepressible. Are you following, like a small child, what your inner spirit is saying? So one day she says, astronomers don't like astrologers very much, but I don't care. I like the stars, and I'm going to go out and watch them. And the next thing you know, she's getting award after award at the astronomy club because they can't understand how she knows all the stars. Well, she's been doing it for so long. And then the next thing you know, she goes, I can do a butterfly garden. And now we sit there at our window, at our dining room table, and watch 10, 12, 14 butterflies flying around in our garden constantly. And she's constantly caring for the caterpillars. Oh, this one got on the screen. And then, and lately she's been doing dragonflies, moths. And because there's no bounds, this week she came home from the library with 2 books of mushrooms. I'm going, like those special mushrooms, honey, that are going to expand our consciousness, which is definitely not the way we want to do it. Seth explains that you can force this stuff on yourself, and if you do, there's a real good possibility that you will literally reorganize your psyche to a point that you can never recover from that. So you'll know if that's happened to you if you've partaken of those. But some people have psychotic experiences as a result of that. And you can have these experiences without the drugs. You can definitely have the experiences without the drugs. And if you're a shaman, American Indian or Mexican Indian or Canadian, or anyway, if you're Native American, you can, some of them take advantage of peyote. Now peyote seems to be a better way to go if you don't mind all the vomiting. Because there tends to be a lot of vomiting with the peyote. So that's not my choice. In fact, as your consciousness goes up, you'll find that you're not even drawn to alcohol. In fact, if you take alcohol, it brings you down. I mean, it's been that way for Reba and I for years now. Alcohol is naturally a depressant. So, our chronological age can vary dramatically from our biological or psychological age. We can change our experience of time through our beliefs, attitudes, and behavior. So some people know, they're very well aware that they're as old as their attitude is. They're as old as their joy in life is. They're as old as their compassionate heart is. And we know that the more we're able to abide in present moment awareness, our minds, our bodies, our beliefs and behaviors become attuned to the cycles of nature, and life flows with the timeless rhythm of the universe. Now, when we get out of sync with that, and we start feeling afraid, and we start being scared and nervous and anxious, it's giving our body a clear message. And the message is this: you have to be prepared for danger. You have to be prepared for a threat. And therefore your adrenals are all primed to dump a load of adrenaline into your body to protect yourself. And your body literally is a study in perfection. It can heal and renew itself not only with great precision, but also great alacrity if you are in a place where you're allowing. But when you're feeling threatened and you're focused on that, it shuts down the body's ability to do what it naturally does: heal and renew and rejuvenate itself. And the body does that. So the happier you are, the more your body rejoices in that. It's a natural part of who you are. So, stepping out of time. It happens when we're totally absorbed in something we love. So, I mentioned before, writing down 3 things that fit that description, that is something you love. And I also mentioned, think about ways that you can make more time for those things that you love. And then pick one from your list and make a plan. Write it down to spend more time doing that. Now, we know that negative beliefs, which I just went over, affect the whole mind-body system. So write down 2 positive beliefs that we can use as affirmations every day to counter this, such as time never runs out. It's a given, we know that. I mean, from our perspective, even though there's no time, we truly believe that time never runs out. The present moment is filled with new possibilities. Each new moment is a clean slate filled with new possibilities. And your ability to connect with those is based on where you are in terms of your feelings. And when you feel good, you have a range that's absolute and limited, and that range is 10%. So you can't access all those wonderful possibilities that you have at your fingertips if you're more than 10% out of sync with where you are, where you want to go vibrationally. You just find yourself even more upset because you're frustrated. You know it's there. You know you should be able to get there, but you can't. And of course, the secret is take baby steps. And then the last one is, you can say, I am ageless. I am as old as I say I am. So those are all things that you can say and develop your own. It's the best ones are the ones that you write. The best ones are the ones that you come up with. And say these affirmations to yourself, and then sit in silence a few minutes, a few moments, and see how your body feels after you say these affirmations. In stillness, think about how our body felt when we say these affirmations. And then repeat the affirmations. But what you're going to find, even before you get to repeating them, is your body feels, your body responds to the positive things that you're saying. There is no voice that your body responds to more powerfully than your own. So it's fine to listen to other people and get upliftment and joy from them and what they're saying, but pay attention to your own voice. Pay attention to what you're saying to yourself. Okay, so we're getting close to wrapping it up here. Now, our beliefs are our values. What we believe is our truth. And our beliefs generate our emotions. If we believe something is upsetting or bad or uncomfortable, then that's exactly what we get. So we need to take an extremely critical look at our beliefs with this underlying question. Are my beliefs serving me? Does this belief empower me? Does this belief give me hope? And as a result, can I feel good? So let's get practical here. Let's bring this technique to bear on our work or whatever we've created in our life that we call our responsibilities. And we need to do this one responsibility at a time, like work, for instance. So, is what we're doing important? Does what we do help others? Does it help others in ways that we care about? How does what we do feed our soul? And when we do it, do we feel uplifted? Now, you're going to find that you change. For instance, in my case, after I'd done the first 8 classes, I found myself getting tired. I'd overstretched myself, and so I needed to stop and reevaluate. There was a lady that came to the church named Alona, and I was stunned when she got up there one day and she said, because she's a very spiritual, beautiful person, and she said, I don't care what I've told you before. I reserve the right to change my mind at any time, including now. So you can make decisions from a good place and then later change your mind and still be doing it from a good place, because now in my case I was taking care of myself. I was getting near exhausted. If the answers to any of these questions are no, then we need to rethink our values and our beliefs. So here's the secret. It is not finding what we love to do, because one thing will never come remotely close to satisfying us. It is the ability to find the joy in anything we do, and if we cannot find the joy in it now, before we do it, then having the inner strength and the courage not to do it. Eventually, down the road, when we have exercised our spiritual wings enough, we will be able to find the joy with absolutely every situation and every person. Though in the moment it may be very challenging. But you'll be surprised. As we grow, we become more passionate, compassionate, more understanding, and things that would have upset you when you were younger, you're blasé about it now because, well, you've seen it all. Everything is just energy, and the only meaning it has is the meaning we've given it. You've never heard me say that before. Nod. So if the meaning we're giving something is upsetting us, it is because through the window of our beliefs, the situation appears to be upsetting. We are making it upsetting. It is not inherently good or bad, except that we're making it so. If we want to change the world we're living in, we need to change our beliefs. At which point, Seth guarantees as soon as we change our beliefs, literally in that instant, the world will begin to change. Even though we all know and have heard there's a big time lag in physical reality. The truth is, once you reach clarity with your beliefs, the results in this reality can be instant. And you can have, for instance, an instant healing. Now, I want us to do two things. And this might be a little uncomfortable when you start. I know it was for me. But make ourselves, in our mind, all that is. Let's make ourselves God. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. And then, instead of starting to ask God to change things, start commanding the things in your life to change. Start commanding your body. Your body is looking for that direction. Your body is looking for that clarity. Your body is looking for clear direction. And the same with the world. So, angels are our creation. Now, it's true that we go out to energy gestalts and draw on angels that might have a big history, and we can choose or elect to use that and incorporate that into our creation, or not. We can make the angel with the same name completely our own, Barakiel. But then be clear that you're giving your angel things to do. Your angel wants things to do. There's a terrible problem with unemployed angels. And they're really lined up way deep. And I'm being quite serious here. Angels are representative of the consciousness units of all that is that yearn for expression, even more than we want the expression that we are asking for. So give clear directions, give commands, practice being all that is. And let's pay attention to what or who we're putting above ourselves. If we're all that is, and we are, then who can be above us? Because every day I'm completely astounded by who I'm putting above me. Besides Reba, of course. And she's talked me out of that one. Thank you, dear. So, is the government above you, above me? Are the police, other people in authority? What about money? What about money? Is money so important that I have to do what other people say in order to get money and be at their beck and call on the end of a string? So what are we putting above ourselves? We are all that is, therefore we get to rule it all. Begin commanding in your mind. We are the boss. We are the one we've been waiting for. Thank you. And again, I want to express my deep gratitude to each and every one of you. This has been one of the great joys of my life, and I'm so appreciative that I had wonderful people to share this with. Thank you.
I have a question. You
Yes,
said we're
Peter.
not supposed to tell anybody our age, but we can point out other people's age? Just a question.
Yeah, and the answer to that is an emphatic no. And the reason is simple. As soon as we say what their age is, that's what we're making them.
No, Mary Lou's 39.
Well, I thought she was 29. Oh my goodness.
At the entrance to my neighborhood, there's a church that always changes its sayings to match what you say. I swear.
Oh wow.
So today they changed it to a thing about time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
They
it
did that
says-
one other time you told
I
us
know, but the
about
other time was not only the church, but it was a synagogue too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah,
It was
yeah.
all
I
three.
love
It was all
that.
three.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
time it says, time changes everything.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
That's what it says.
Maybe they subscribe to the Deepak and Oprah meditation too.
Yeah.
They got the divine memo.
Oh yeah. Any other questions or comments? Merle.
There was a great song from a long time ago that said, "Time has come today."
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
And so
I love that
the whole
song.
thing, yeah, because there was a lot of, it kind of slowed everything down and it brought you right into the moment.
Yeah, really powerful. That was.
So that's what time is always doing, is bringing us to today.
You know, I try not to be conscious of time, but today I was like, oh, I gotta go. And when I left, I went and I found a doctor friend of mine in her office locked, and I knew she was in there. I just knew she was in there. I just had a feeling. And I opened the door, and she's sitting there with 1,000 files all over the floor. And I was meant to go find her. I was like, oh, I gotta go there. I think she's there. And then I just sat down. I said, we have to breathe, because she was like, I gotta go to court, and I gotta find this file. And it was like, so we had a little moment. I think she got better once I left. But I should have taken her out of the file room to do the breathing, because it was overwhelming. But sometimes, and it was like, I knew it was time to go. I didn't know what time it was, but I knew it was time to do that, you know? So that's not really time, that's...
Well,
intuition.
it's
Yeah.
telepathy,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
clairvoyance,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
being connected to your inner
That's right.
spirit and connected
Yeah.
through that inner spirit to others.
Yeah,
And clearly,
yeah,
I can see your
it's
wings,
fun.
your angelic wings very clearly.
And following that voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what a gift that was to her.
I had a
Because,
big opening up here when I had that bawling for 2 weeks in a row. You missed that.
Oh, yeah, missed it. I might have been there another level with you.
well, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
You know,
we cried.
opening up and experiencing our emotions is one of the most wonderful, powerful things we can do. And it's very, very transformative. And it also clears us out and allows us to, and especially if we've asked that question, what do I want? It allows us to turn in directions that fill us with where we want to go. It's wonderful. That's quite a blessing.
Yeah. It's better than the blessing I used to have. I used to be able to tell if people were dying,
Okay.
and when they were going to die. I haven't had that in a while. That was a scary one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But if you know when you can go give somebody love and calm them down, that's cool.
That is very cool. You know, when my wife passed over and she came to me, and she still comes to me all the time. including today several times. Behind her, I could see everybody in the family that had passed over. And I went, whoa, you know, I'm not gonna be here to be like giving messages and stuff like that. That is, I really appreciate your help, honey, because she's constantly goading me to be a better partner for Reba. She's going, you got a great opportunity here, make the most of it. Get up off your butt and turn that football off, and then go do your part washing the laundry